And that's a wrap from MetLife Stadium tonight. The Eagles closing out their final preseason game. Welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy. Here we are, closing it out. Preseason football. Goodbye.
The preseason is over. It ended a little bit differently than we expected, a 31-31 tie, but an entertaining game.
Yes.
And some good things on both sides of the ball from this Eagles team. Not the finish that you would like, ideally, but a good performance nonetheless. Head
coach Nick Sirianni still looking for his first win at the helm, but there was a lot of good stuff in that first half. I thought especially from the offense, there was a ton of bright spots, a lot of patience throughout that first half, and a lot of guys, especially Kenny G, really showed up.
Yeah, I thought we saw some really good things offensively, and you saw some crisp offensive play.
Yep.
I thought Joe Flacco looked sharp. He really had a good week of practice as well up there in Florham Park. So going up against his former team, I thought he showed up. This play, I mean, there's not much else to say outside of Boston Scott doing a great job in the open field. Really well executed play. I think I'll be breaking this one down a little bit later in the show. The Eagles be able to finish off drives. And what's the thing we talked about in the kickoff show, right? Is I want to see them finish. And I thought the offense did a good job. 3 of the first 4 drives ended in touchdowns. That's what you're looking to see from an offensive standpoint. You'd like to be able to see the quarterback captain the offense, move the football down the field. You had some big plays, but then you also had some drives where they had to matriculate and get dink and dunk and get the ball down. They did a good job overall tonight.
Joe Flacco was wheeling and dealing out there. He came up with some good stuff. He was extending plays, which I think is something that the Eagles are working on. It's a strength. It's been a strength the past few weeks. And we talked about also in the kickoff show that offensive line. We got to see a lot in terms of the depth, which was something that we mentioned before the game started. And Andre Dillard, I wanted to ask what you thought of his performance because Jordan Mailata has been the big talk at left tackle. Andre Dillard has been banged up through camp, so we haven't been able to see much of him, although Jordan Mailata has been pretty dominant at that position. But we got to see Andre Dillard for a long time tonight.
We did, and I'm excited to kind of dig into the tape tomorrow and really get a sense of how he did overall. But we got to see some flashes where he releases out to the perimeter on some screen plays, and he's able to get big on big and get some defenders out of the way, out in space. So look, that plays in his athleticism. That's something you like to see from Andre Dillard. I'm excited to dig into the film and see how he looked in his first extensive preseason action since 2019.
On the other side of the ball, T.Y. Mcgill.
Yes.
What are our thoughts there?
A really strong performance, and this is a guy that has flashed almost on a weekly basis, not just here in the preseason, but throughout training camp as well. He's really, really quick, really active. He's got heavier hands than you would expect for an undersized defensive tackle. He's been on and off the roster, Ella, for the last couple of years, and he really just kind of flashes. And what flashes most about him is his effort, his energy, his play personality. I thought that showed up today. We saw him chasing the football consistently, but you saw some TFLs. We saw a couple sacks there from T.Y. Mcgill, so showing off one of the reasons why he's been able to stick in the NFL for as long as he has.
Looking at the big picture now, like we said in the kickoff show, guys were fighting for a job tonight. And you can see that fight in J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He was fighting for it. Now, the next few days until Tuesday, where those roster cuts are made from 80 players to 53, what is that going to look like after tonight's performance?
Yeah, we'll see exactly when those official cuts are made. And make sure you're tuned in to @Eagles on Twitter. Make sure you're tuned in to PhiladelphiaEagles.com, the Eagles mobile app, social channels all across the board. Make sure you are tuned in because once those cuts are official, you'll be able to find them on all of those channels. But at some point before Tuesday's deadline, the Eagles will get down to 53. Then the next day, Wednesday, is when they can get to that 16-man practice squad. But so obviously a lot of tough decisions that will be made here in the next couple of days.
Definitely decisions that coaches around the league would say it's not the best part of the job. But being a coach, now they have joint practice film, they have training camp film, and they have 3 preseason games. What does it look like for them when they're going to all sit down, they're going to go back, they're going to look at this film before they make these decisions? What does it look like from a coach's perspective?
You're evaluating the whole body of work, and we said it in the kickoff show that it's all about the more you can do. So if you're an offensive player, what can you do in your own position? If you're a running back, can you help as a blocker? Can you help as a pass catcher? Obviously, as a runner, can you move around the formation? Can you go play special teams? Are you a returner? Can you cover kicks? Can you, be a punt block on the punt block team? What else can you offer this football team? And so the guys that can answer or could check more boxes there, they've got more of a chance to be able to stick. And those are the discussions that it's not just they're going to start now. The front office, the coaching staff, they've been having those discussions over the last couple of weeks and months. now it's going to all come down to these next couple days.
It's going to be busy, that's for sure, around here at the NovaCare complex. Now, as we said before, Nick Sirianni really views these joint practices as preseason games. So again, doing that math, the Eagles have played a total of 7 preseason games. Looking at all those joint practices and the film from those preseason games, Fran, what do we know now about the 2021 Eagles?
I think we know that they're going to play really, really hard. And that's been the one thing that has stood out, is that the energy level has been consistent from practice 1 all the way up through, what was it, 15 practices total, 16 practices total, plus those games. I think we've seen a really high level of energy on both offense and defense. The coaching staff, they are going to harp on development and players getting better week after week, game after game. That's been consistent here in camp. I think we'll continue to see that as well. That's going to be big for a lot of these young players, the first-year players, second-year players, third-year players. Expect to see them make incremental improvements throughout the course of the season. So teaching and then the energy level, I think those are going to be constants here with this football team.
And I think it's important to note that now, after that whistle was blown, there's 16 days until the Eagles hit the road to take on Atlanta for week 1. So that's a lot of time, right, to get the wheels in motion with your 53 guys. What's that going to look like over the next 16 days to prepare this team, keep them focused for Atlanta?
So basically what happens now, once training camp is over, obviously the media, we're not at practice every single day throughout the entire practice. So once that media session ends, that little media window where cameras are out there for the first 15, 20 minutes, cameras, media all go away, and now the team starts working on game plans. And not only will they focus here on Atlanta, but a lot of teams will also maybe sneak in a couple periods here and there every day, especially this coming week, where we're looking at Week 2, San Francisco, Week 3, Week 4. You're looking at those opponents as well. But next week, that's when it's going to be all Atlanta all the time, getting ready for that Week 1 opponent. Obviously, look, this coming week here, it's going to be all about the decisions, everybody getting their body right, making sure you're good to go. But getting ready for Atlanta, that starts tomorrow.
Sure, and this week can be kind of treated like a bye week, right? So you're going to want to try and get your bodies back, get your guys healthy and ready to go, which is certainly a benefit of not playing next weekend. However, with those 16 days, I know people get a little worried, all that time off, but I know Nick Sirianni is going to have these guys ready to go. And
that was the point of having these joint practices, the way that they had them. I mean, it was hot up there in New Jersey this week. Both days of practice, Tuesday and Wednesday, were scorchers. It was hot and humid out there after the rainstorm even tonight. So those guys got a lot of great work in, and they're going to continue to recover and be ready to go here. We got a couple weeks. That 16 days is going to go fast.
All right, so now this week's approaching. It's busy around the NovaCare complex. For you, what's some things that you're going to break down?
So for me personally, I mean, we'll dig a little bit into this film here from the third preseason game against the Jets, but all eyes are now going to start looking ahead towards Atlanta. So whether it's on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, we'll be preparing for that, but also as well for Eagles Game Plan, our weekly show where we do our film breakdowns of the Eagles' upcoming game, the opponent, and how they're going to win the matchup. That's the goal every single week over on Eagles Game Plan. So production for that has already started. We'll have film breakdowns every week with Coach Sirianni. We'll have Greg Cosell, Mike Quick, John Clark, Guy Grease. It's always a lot of fun. So all of those breakdowns, they all start right away. So excited to get going there. But for the team, like I said, it is all about getting now to that regular season. You've made it through camp. You've made it over that hill. Now it's about trying to get yourself ready for week 1.
Now, one position group that we talked a lot about on the kickoff show was the running backs. Yeah. Now, we didn't see Miles Sanders, we didn't see Jordan Howard, but what did we learn about the other running backs tonight that maybe we didn't know before? Obviously, Kenny Gainwell still proving to be what he's shown in the past few weeks at camp, but what can we really learn about them after tonight?
Yeah, I think it wasn't even necessarily about like learning something new. It was also about let's just see the guys perform. We haven't seen Kenny Gainwell have that level of performance up to this point. And we talked about it earlier that he did not play in 2020, right? He opted out of his sophomore season in Memphis, but great to see him perform the way he did under the lights.
All right, well, speaking of Kenny Gainwell, we're going to head over to the press conference and hear from the running back himself.
Questions for Kenny? Hey, can you just talk about progress you made through the preseason and kind of just how you feel about yourself going into the regular season?
I just came in preseason just ready to work, and I came in with my head down, just ready to attack every opportunity that came my way. So I came in just ready to work. And going into the season, I'm just ready to work, put it all out there on the field.
Did you feel like in the beginning of training camp that you had like any rust to knock off because you didn't play last year?
No, not really. I came in ready, regardless of anything, just came in ready to work.
Over the last month, where do you think you've improved the most?
Overall, just, learning, learning from the older guys, listening, just being smart with just the plays, just taking it day by day.
In practice this week, we saw you get a lot of work as the first team back in hurry-up situations. How can you help in that role in particular?
Just being ready when my name is called, just going in and taking everything I had to do, whatever. Whenever my name is called, just go in and just do my job.
Along those lines, how is pass protection coming along for you?
It's been coming along good. Each and every day I try to work hard to get better and do everything I had to do.
They move you around a lot in the formation here. Is that something that you experienced a lot at Memphis?
Yeah, that's exactly what I experienced in Memphis. Get moved from slot outside to inside, playing outside of the tackle, like right outside of the tackle, and, exactly what's going on now, so I'm very comfortable with that.
If you had to pick one guy on the team who's going to have a big season this year, who would you say?
I'll say myself, and basically the whole team, but I'm going to bet on myself every chance I get.
How do you feel to get in the end zone?
Man, it felt good. I had to let a little steam out, it felt good.
You showed some patience on that run. Do you feel like the game has slowed down for you since you first started OTAs to where you are now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. As you go day by day, you're learning to play, knowing what to do. Everything is slowed down.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we heard from running back Kenny Gainwell. Again, we were just speaking about him before turning over to his press conference. What do you think adding him to the running back room is really going to do for this offense and this team?
Well, I think it just gives the offensive coordinator, the offensive coaches another dimension, another running back that can impact the pass game as a pass catcher, because we've seen him at Memphis be moved all around the formation. He just talked about it there, how he was moved into the slot. He was moved out wide. And, yeah, he can break off big runs like we saw today in chunks, but he also can run routes like a wide receiver. He has the ability to finish at the catch point like a wide receiver, just such a natural pass catcher, and you love having that out of the backfield. It's one of the biggest mismatches in the sport, is getting a running back on a linebacker, on a safety at the second level with that ability to make plays down the football field in all three levels. It's something that's going to be a big part of this offense.
As we're learning more and more about these running backs and now these wide receivers, it's going to be really interesting to see how Steichen and Sirianni kind of use them together.
Yep.
Use the wide receivers, use the running backs in unison, how they can complement each other on this offense.
Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of that in the preseason where you'll have those split back looks where the quarterback's in the shotgun, you have a quarterback or a running back on his right, another running back on his left. You could do a lot of different things from a motion standpoint and a matchup standpoint, and sometimes it's eye candy. Neither of those guys get the football, but it opens up space for others. So I'm really excited to see what they can continue to do out of those looks.
And if you're a defense, how hard is it to look at that and either game plan or to be able to read the offense correctly?
That's the thing, is that if you're in man-to-man coverage, you have to figure out who's going to be covering each of those backs one-on-one. Not every team is going to have two linebackers that you feel comfortable with matching up to running backs in space. And if you're going to play in zone, like I said, those motions, that can really mess with the eyes of a zone coverage defender. So if you've got a running back going across your face this way, another one going this way, if you go this way or the other, well, now you open up a gap behind you and can throw it to a tight end or a streaking receiver, whatever it is. So, we've seen that from the Eagles a little bit here in the preseason in some of these games. We'll see if they continue to do it into the regular season.
And we know Sirianni is not going to show.
No, not at all.
Close to anything.
He's not showing his cards.
Exactly,
That's right.
exactly. And that's a huge benefit that the Eagles have this year is there's really no film on this team.
Yep.
Right? We can sit here and we can talk about the preseason. We can talk about joint practices until we turn blue in the face.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we don't know what this Eagles team is truly, truly going to look like until it's week 1 in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, no NFL team knows what Nick Sirianni's offense, his offense, where he is calling the shots, what that is going to look like. No one knows what a Jonathan Gannon defense, where he is calling the shots, what that looks like. That is something that the Eagles have to their advantage going into week 1. And then even then, for the San Francisco 49ers, you only have 1 week's worth of tape. That's not a lot. That's not a very large sample size. So the Eagles certainly have that going to their advantage going into this game.
And talking about Jonathan Gannon's defense, a big thing that he has been very vocal about is his focus on takeaways.
Yeah.
We saw that towards the end of the game there. They had a big takeaway, the Eagles defense. How important was that, do you think, to cap that off for the defense before they head into the next week?
That's a good question because it's something that he talked about, Jonathan Gannon, this week at a press conference up in North Jersey where he mentioned it was the forced fumble last week in New England late by Ricoh Williams. And it's just a good example for these guys to be able to show something on tape and say, look, all these things we practice every single day. Here's a good example of it. Look, it happened here in the game. This is what we are trying to preach. This is what we're doing. It's one thing when you show the Indianapolis Colts do it or you show the Minnesota Vikings do it.
Right.
But it's great to have your own film and say, hey, guys, like, we have done this. This is what we want it to look like. This is the standard. And so anytime you can have that, even if it is just preseason film, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Speaking of the defense, a big name on the defensive side of the ball that we talked about in the kickoff show was Milton Williams. What did you think of his performance tonight?
He flashed. He did some good things. Honestly, I thought a lot of the rookies on the defensive side did some good things here tonight. We saw Zach McPherson come up with that interception in the end zone on the 2-point play. We saw Teron Jackson make plays, Tui Pelotu, a bunch of these guys. So it's to see Milton Williams in the first half showed up at defensive tackle. He looks like he played most of his time inside tonight. I'm excited to go back through the film, but I thought he flashed, and he's continued to flash. He's one of those guys, Ella, that on the short list of who has gotten better week after week after week, Milton Williams, he's on that short list at the top.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at the team off the field, right, and you think of Jalen Hurts, who's stepping into this new role as the quarterback of this team, what does the preparation look like for a guy like him?
Well, first off, it's tough because you have to prepare for your first time as a starter, right? Because remember, this guy's only started 4 games coming into this year. This is brand new for him. He was the 3rd-string quarterback a year ago at this time. So he's got that. But then you're also preparing for a ridiculous defensive scheme week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. Dean Pease is one of the toughest coordinators to prepare for in the NFL. Comes out of retirement, took last year off. Now he's back here with the Atlanta Falcons. He is a beast to prepare for from a blitz standpoint, a disguise standpoint. So all the things that Jalen's got to worry about from a first-time starter standpoint, then you add on top of that, oh, yeah, I got to go up against Dean Pease in week 1. That's going to be a big storyline that we're not talking about now, but a week from now, that'll be a big question in press conferences.
And a big thing that we know about Jalen Hurts that we've heard all through his college career at both Alabama and Oklahoma, and now since he's been here with the Eagles, of course, is those intangibles, right? We hear about his leadership. We hear about his passion. We were talking about how excited he was. He was ready to go for practice, right? Sometimes he's up at the podium and it's like Nick Saban is speaking out of his mouth, right? He is just wired to win. And we remember when he was at Oklahoma, right? He would just win a game, and then there were photos of him all over Twitter in his dirty Oklahoma Sooners uniform lifting weights in the weight room. That is how he is wired. And we know that's the kind of Jalen Hurts we will get here in Philadelphia. But when you start to talk about now, you know, this is his show, right? Yep. And he's going to be going up against a tough defense week 1, and what that's going to look like in terms of preparation, he's got some work to do.
No question. And you and I are both from Philadelphia. We understand how much everybody here loves the passion, right? And Jalen Hurts absolutely matches that. And that's something that fans will continue to see from him during his time here in Philadelphia. But it's a big test. Obviously, like I said, you're preparing for your first time as a starter, and you've got a big test. And even looking past that, and he's not looking past it, but those first few defenses, a lot to prepare for down the stretch early on.
You know, it was mentioned, I don't know if it was this past week or 2 weeks ago, camp, the weeks start to blend together. I don't even know what day it is. But it was mentioned that he quizzes guys in the hallway when they're walking around the NovaCare complex. How important is he for the development? You know, we've been talking about these young guys on offense, for that wide receiver group, for some of these running backs. How important is it to have him, a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's a proven winner, be here, and he has that mentality where he's always going to keep them on their toes, and he's going to get the best he can out of these guys? Well,
and that's the thing, like when you talk about, it's a younger team, you don't have a lot of veterans, but when you have guys that are wired the right way, even if they're young, if they are put in a position, in a leadership position, like Jalen Hurts is the #1 quarterback, you look at Devontae Smith and what his role is offensively. Now you've got that authority to be able to assert yourself and be able to kind of set that standard. And I think you're going to see that from a lot of these young guys. You still have those vets. You still have, on the offensive side of the football, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Zach Ertz. You still have those guys. But then to have some of the young guys able to show the way and say, hey, look, this is how we're going to continue to do things, you love having that in the building.
It's interesting to see the balance, right? Because you have an offensive line that the dudes on that line won a Super Bowl, right? And then you have a young guy like Jalen Hurts coming in, kind of taking the reins of this offense. So finding a balance in the leadership on the offensive side of the ball, I think is interesting. I think it's going to really be a huge part in how this offense is built as the weeks roll on. But there's a lot of good things, a lot of hope, a lot of things to be excited about if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have those young guys, it's so fun to be able to watch them continue to develop. I've made the comparison in the past, just looking to last year, two of the bright young players that kind of took that next step, and we were like, wow, really excited about their development. Jordan Mailata on offense, Josh Sweat on defense, two members of the 2018 class in their third year who took that next step. We're expecting big things from here this fall in year 4. It's fun to be able to watch players develop, but it takes time. Josh Sweat was not Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat now was not Josh Sweat in 2018. Jordan Mailata, we've said it before, he didn't know how to buckle his chin strap 3 years ago, right? He didn't know how to put his pads on. Now all of a sudden he's got his pads off the entirety of preseason game 3. So the way that we've been able to watch these guys develop, you got to do the same thing for the young guys, whether it's the rookies or the second-year players. You look at Jalen Hurts, Jalen Reagor, the rest of that sophomore class, same idea. You got to let them continue to develop.
And, there's a lot of veteran blood that was brought in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball as well that has been so great for that side of the ball when you have Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson, who joined the team later on in the offseason.
Yeah, even like the Eric Wilsons, the
Fred,
Joe
I'm going to
Flacco's.
cut you off. We're going to head to the press conference with Joe Flacco.
What's up, guys? I didn't see y'all last year at all in person, I don't think, huh? It was all over FaceTime, but...
Joe, the collection of running backs here, how much do they fit what Nick wants to do on offense and the different weapons you can have out there?
Yeah, well, listen, I know that those guys are doing a good job. I mean, it's yet to be, we're still in pretty early stages here in terms of how things are going to fit in, and especially since we haven't gotten into the regular season to see what we're really going to, really end up coming out of the season being good at. But these guys are doing a really good, they're doing really good at, picking everything up and being as versatile as possible.
Joe, that throw to JJ arcega-whiteside, you look like you rolled to your right. Just take us through that play. What did you see? What were you looking for?
Yeah, well, we're just running basically two corner routes with some flats and trying to get out of bounds at the end of the half and pick up another chunk, get us a little bit closer. Felt like the left side where I was looking wasn't really working. Got a little bit of pressure, was able to escape outright, and then just that portion of the field was open, and he kind of felt it. He turned up. And did an awesome job catching the ball and then getting into the end zone from there, obviously. I mean, I think that was all him. Once the ball got in the air, it was all him catching the ball and then getting those last 10 yards or whatever it was to get himself in the end zone for a touchdown. That was huge. I pointed a little bit, but I think he was already turning up.
Given everything you've done in your career, Joe, what is your juice level for a preseason finale?
It's funny. I think people probably see that. They see a guy in his mid-30s playing in the last preseason game, and they probably think, oh, he's just out there hanging out, playing football, just playing a game. But no, I mean, I'm sitting in the hotel today, getting myself ready just like I would any other game. Especially we haven't, obviously still we haven't won in this preseason, and it's Nick's first job as a head coach and his first, a new staff. So. I've been there before, and these guys want to get a win. So these games are still important.
Some of the guys you're out there with are obviously trying to make a roster. Sometime, some of them for the first time. How much do you put on yourself to get in your best?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why you cannot take any games, any plays for granted. They all count as NFL football games, and guys' lives and livelihoods are always at stake. Guys' livelihoods are always at stake. So. You want to be a guy that can help those guys achieve whatever they want to achieve and not kind of weigh them down. So
given that you wanted to get a win, what was the reaction after the way that game ended?
No, it was all good. I mean, it was all good. I mean, everybody was excited, and listen, there was a lot of really cool plays out there today. So I think Coach Sirianni was excited for everybody and just really proud of how hard we played and all that.
Joe, you've been around a long time. Is there a right or wrong approach to the preseason and whether you'll play your starters even in the final game like the Chiefs did tonight or like the way you guys have handled it here?
Yeah, listen, it's tough to say. There's probably no right or wrong way. It's probably we all sit there afterwards, and if something bad happened or if something good came from it 6 weeks down the road, you realize, oh, maybe it's because they played their preseason, their guys in their last preseason game, or if something bad happened, it's like, why were they doing that? So I think it's one of those things that we can all kind of look at, whether depending on what happened and give our critiques of it or our applause for it. So just one of those things. You got to do what you feel is right with what your team has and how much they've played before and all those things, and just stand by your decision.
Joe, how do you feel about the way you played and just came through the preseason?
Oh, yeah. It's tough to kind of answer questions about yourself, but listen, I was excited to get out there today and be able to move the ball down the field and score some points, so that was a lot of fun.
Joe, playing with the second team offensive line throughout the summer, what did you learn about your offensive line depth heading into this year?
You could tell pretty quickly that we have a bunch of guys up there that can play football. They're not just big guys that can move and block, but they understand the game, and that's, nobody, you can't see that necessarily on TV or if you don't really necessarily know exactly what you're looking for. But a lot of the guys up front have, really good football IQs. They just have football sense. They know how to play. They know how to, where to go naturally and things like that. And I think that's really big at every position. But when you can get a group of offensive linemen that can do that well, it just takes your team to the next level.
Hey, Joe, the next time you play might need to be a situation you don't expect, coming in cold, something like that. I guess from now going forward, what do you do to prepare for that type of scenario?
Right. Listen, I mean, obviously before last year, I hadn't had a lot of experience at that, and it is different. You have to make sure that you attack, the early parts of the week just as if you were the starter, even though you're not going to be able to get the reps. Because the biggest thing is making sure that you feel prepared going into the game without getting the reps throughout the practice week. And that's just nothing to be taken lightly. You have to, work your tail off and approach it the right way. And as long as, I think that's the biggest thing for me. As long as I do that during the week, which I know I will, then I can go on into Sunday feeling confident that I'm prepared. And if something happens, then, that's what you're there for.
Joe, you touched on the running back.
Joe, you touched on the running backs at the beginning of this. What did you say to Kenny there, that second drive?
Guys, man, you put me on the spot. It's tough for me to kind of listen. We had some room out there to run. I think our linemen did a good job, and I think those guys hit the hole. They didn't hesitate. They went. I know on one of those I scrambled. I was looking for my receiver, and I scrambled to the left, and he did an awesome job showing up for me, getting the attention of my eyes, kind of grabbing me, and giving me a spot to go with the ball. And that was a big play to kind of move the chains and keep going. So I think he's starting to kind of get his legs underneath of him out there and feel confident about just making decisions quickly and going and trusting his feel, and I think he was able to do that today.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
guys.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
How y'all doing?
What did you think on the walk-off touchdown, 2-point conversion? What was going through your mind at that time? You had the win in your hand.
Yeah, obviously we all wanted to win that game, and we wanted to execute it at the end of the game, and we didn't do that.
What do you say to Michael Jaquette, who is making a positive play, but obviously from a situational awareness standpoint, it might have cost you the win?
Sure, yeah. No, we talk about that all the time, and it's a no-moss situation. That's what we call it in that scenario. So you get a turnover, you're supposed to stay down. We didn't communicate that well enough with him, so he just tried to make a play. We got to do a better job coaching it.
You rested your starters. Obviously, no starters on defense played. Everyone except for a few wide receivers. But why did you want to get some of the young wide receivers work?
I feel like they still need a little bit more work to get out there, catch a couple balls, and go. We tried to run a big deep ball to Quez that just Joe got hit on the play, and just wanted to get him a touch and get him a catch and then get him out.
So Nick, what is your kind of
yeah, because he got that one shallow, the little shallow route. He got that catch. We finished the drive, and then he came out.
So it is preseason, but what is your messaging? Is it the same after a game like this if it would be the regular season? What's the teaching moment? What do you kind of tell the guys when you get back to work?
It kind of just wrapped up the that training camp and preseason's over, and we got another week before we are into preparation for Atlanta. But the talk was, hey, we got one more week of work, but training camp preseason's over. We'll get better from this week, and then we'll be on to Atlanta the following week.
How do you handle this next week? How do you handle this next week? Because it is like an extra one.
Yeah, competitive situations to get good on good, get the guys. Obviously we'll be down on numbers, because we're going to have to make some cuts, and so it will be more reps for the ones, just to make sure that they're getting ready. Continuing to get ready. We've really ramped up their reps as it is, but continuing to get ready to play 70 plays or plus that week 1 at Atlanta.
And so, big picture, what's your takeaway of where you are after 3 games and 4 weeks of practice?
Yeah, well, you know what, we talk every day about getting better every day, and loving the climb of a season and just continuing to do that. And so I feel like some of the veterans players and I have talked yesterday. It was really good. One thing that was really good is we were all in the hotel together for the past four nights. It was kind of like old training camp when you went away, right? And so that was good. I felt a lot of connecting with the players there. But the message was, or the talks that we had is like, hey, this was a physical training camp. It was a fast. I mean, those guys practiced hard, and again, I think that, I know we weren't on the field. There's times we were on the field for an hour and 15. There are times we were an hour and a half, times we were an hour and 45, times there were 2 hours. But, we got a lot of work done. And so I do believe, like, the only way you're getting better every day is if you're practicing hard and you're going full speed. And I believe that we did that through the 4 weeks of training camp and got better every day. And now it's, hey, we got another week of that to get ourselves ready. We still got 2 weeks before we play. So let's just stay on that course of, hey, continue to get better, continue to get better, continue to get better, so we have all those points accumulated, so to say, once we step into Atlanta.
How important was it to get Andre Dillard out on the field? And how do you think he did? From what you were able to see.
Yeah, I have to watch the tape. That's a tough spot. Like I'm kind of looking. My eyes are more in the secondary, and sometimes Stout's looking at him a lot. And Roy, his assistant. But so sometimes I'm only seeing if a bad thing happens to a tackle. But it was important for him to because he had been out to get some reps in there and go out there and play. Again, I thought he was having a great camp before he got hurt. And so I'm excited to watch the tape. It felt like he played pretty good. We had Joe was 13 of 16 with a drop, and so he had time to throw. So I'm looking forward to watching him play and have a better evaluation for you after that.
We've seen teams like the Chiefs tonight, for instance. They play their starters into a couple series. We've seen teams like the Rams that won't play anybody.
Sure.
Why have you guys decided to follow this philosophy of not playing the starters?
Jeff, I thought with the way we practiced the last 2 days, the way we practiced against that you guys were at the practice against the Jets that second day, and even the first day. I mean, that was a hard physical practice. And to me, that's a game. The way we played that practice was a game, and we treated the post practice just like we would treat a post game. When we came in and evaluated, we did the whole film session and the charts that we look at just like a post game. And to me, you don't ever come off of 2 days rest and play another game. So I didn't think that would be good for our guys health-wise, and I felt good about where we were, and that was the decision I made.
If I could just follow up, though. We've seen with the Rams, this is 4 years that they've done. This is something they've decided. Is this something that you guys went into the preseason thinking, because of health, because we don't want to get our guys injured?
Yeah, not necessarily. Everything was evaluated. We had every intention, even that we practiced against the Patriots. We had intentions of playing them in that game. So it was just everything was a case by case. And that, like I said, that the last 2 days, and I appreciate Coach Sala and his staff and his players, because we got a lot of work done against them. And I know we're leaving New York a better team than when we came to New York. And so again, appreciate them for that. And we felt like we got the work done we needed to. Nothing was final until after that practice, and we're like, all right, we're probably good. We don't need to see them.
Operations-wise,
about
Nick,
how you've seen
through 3 games now, you've gotten to go through the process of getting the plays in and communication and stuff. Have you learned anything? Are you going to maybe adjust anything now that you've gone through
I
it?
thought it was really smooth. I mean, I thought it was really smooth operation. I thought we were getting plays off pretty quick. We did a I thought a couple times. I never felt like we were down low at all. I mean, we were getting the play in, and we were getting it snapped a lot of times at 20, which is good. That's how I want to play. I mean, more plays you get, more yards you get, more points you get. So I thought the operation was really good. Shane did a good job. I was calling the play to Shane. Shane did a good job of talking in there when we're in 2-minute situations. Kevin Patullo is really doing a lot of, hey, here's our scenario of what we're in. And Jim Bob Cooter is getting all the scenarios for us from the 2-minute around the league so we can prepare for it. So, I felt really good in those 2 minutes. I can't remember what happened against New England. I can't remember if we went down to the 3 in the 2-minute, but I know 2 of the 3 games we had good 2-minute drives, and that's where you're really at situational football at its greatest. And so felt really good with the operation on the headsets and talking through things, and didn't get any challenges, but hey, there's the regular season for that.
Couple more, please. Before the game, you talked about your message to the team was there's been final preseason games where guys have won a job, changed minds, and stuff like that. Were there any cases of that here tonight, making decisions more difficult?
Again, I think what you saw is I think you saw a lot of players play their hearts out and play hard and play physical, and I saw a lot of guys have some success, and I don't want to single anybody out. Again, I got to watch the tape and see it, but that was definitely the message I wanted to get across last night, that hey, here's 5 guys that have made the team on that last game. Like, sure, you don't discredit what they did all the way to that last game, but in particular, like, here's what, and we kind of showed clips of those guys. Here's the plays that they made in that last game that changed our minds as coaches, that got them to stick. And I think the guys really felt that, and they thought. I thought the meeting last night was good in the sense that it put that sense of urgency. I know they all had their sense of urgency with it, but that you guys can change our minds and go out there and play your tails off. And I really felt like they did that tonight. They left it all out in the field. And again, I have to watch the tape, but all those guys should be proud of themselves of how they played, and should feel good as to the sense that they left it all on the field and put it all on tape.
What's your personal philosophy about weighing what a player can do for you week 1 versus maybe the upside that they have down the line in making these decisions?
Say that.
As you look at the players, weighing what they've done so far and how they can help right now compared to their upside and how they can help down the line.
Yeah, I think everything you do is you got to be ready to win that first game, and they all count, right? They all count big time, and it's such good parity in this league. So whoever's going to give us a chance to win, we're going to have on this team.
You really spotlighted Kenny Gainwell on the one drive, I think the second drive. How is he different now than he was when he first got in the building?
Yeah, he was quiet when he first got in the building. And now I just see his personality coming out, just getting more comfortable. He's a great kid, and you see his personality come out because he's had some success. One thing that you really notice about him, he's shifty and he can make guys miss, and he's got great hands. He can run routes. He can hit the hole and make big runs. He is tough, and you see that on his college tape. But when you're with a guy every single day and you're watching him practice every single day, he just shows his physical toughness and his mental toughness every day. And usually guys that are tough players, those are guys that you're like, I can't go to the game without him. And so that's what he showed me. It has really stuck out, particularly in the joint practices, how tough he is, and then it just goes over to the game. Can I answer your question still? Yeah. Yeah.
This is your first year, and this is also the year that there's one less preseason game. So personally, how ready do you feel to start the season?
Let's go. I'm ready. But again, I'm excited for this team. I'm excited for the guys that we have on this team to get going and getting to game 1. But, if we're truly a process-driven team where we want to get better every single day, because we know if you make those deposits every single day of getting better, and every single day you pay the deposit, you're going to be ready to play. We still have 2 weeks of preparation. So am I really excited? Yeah, I want to go start game playing in Atlanta right now, and I'm really excited about it. I get goosebumps thinking about going up there and playing at Atlanta and with this team, with these guys. But I gotta be as the head coach. I gotta practice what I preach, and that is, hey, we got 2 weeks left before we step on that field. Deposits are due every single day.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, y'all.
We got JJ coming in.
JJ, you've obviously been through a lot your first 2 years here. How big was it to be able to kind of cap this third preseason with a performance like this?
I'm not gonna lie, I felt good, but at the same time, you can't look in the past. You just gotta take it day by day. The moment you start looking too much in the past, start looking too much into the future, you miss your opportunity where you're at today. So that's just kind of been my mentality. It's just, day by day, no matter what happened yesterday, whatever happens tomorrow, be focused and be present.
But today, how do you feel about your chances of remaining here?
It's not my job. My job is to go out there and play football, and whatever happens. That's, can't worry about that. I just go out there and play, have fun doing it, help this team win games.
Do you feel like you put together a good enough summer to do that?
Yeah, I really haven't had time to reflect on, the past and the last 3-4 weeks. Just because, like I said, I just try to, day by day, get better every day, do what I can to help this team win games, and then everything else is out of my control.
JJ, can you kind of take us through the touchdown from your perspective?
I was just, really, really happy that Joe gave me a chance to go up there and make a play, especially, at a time when the team needed it right before halftime, go up, put some points up on the board. I was just happy that he trusted me to come down, and I was just happy, obviously, that I came down and did it, and was able to do it for the team and come back out and just keep playing.
Nick said he showed you guys examples of players that kind of changed the coach's mind, making a couple plays in the preseason before this game. You have that touchdown, but then immediately afterwards you make a stop on special teams. How much have you worked on your special teams prowess to kind of get in that kind of mode?
Yeah, going into this training camp, I told myself, big plays are going to happen, mistakes are going to happen, but one thing you can control is give an effort. And I feel like, as a receiver, blocking is something that's always effort-based. Either you give effort and you do it right, or you don't. Special teams is the same way. Either you give effort, go down and hustle and make a play, or at least disrupt the play, or hold your guy up and then punt, making sure your guy doesn't get to the punter. That's just kind of like my mentality is going into it, controlling what I can control, which is like effort, being aggressive when I get a chance to be aggressive, and making a play when it comes to me.
If you think back to your first preseason, you didn't dress in the final preseason game. You were coming off that big third preseason game. What perspective do you have now that you didn't have then?
2 years, you gain a lot of experience. The ins and outs of things that go on in the league. Obviously, back then it was different. I was a rookie. I was still, getting my footing, trying to figure out what this whole league is about. 2 years later now, I got a pretty good grasp of how things work. And the biggest thing that I learned is at the end of the day, we're still playing football and doing the things, like I said, I think in one of the interviews way back, is just going back to what worked for me in college, and that's showing effort, giving effort and doing the things that take no talent, and the things that do take talent, the talent take over, and don't worry about the result. And I'm just happy that I was able to come down with a few plays tonight and help this team.
JJ, I know it's preseason, but kind of a tough way to end, on that Hail Mary pass. What's the mood of the team like after something like that?
It would have, it always is good to win, especially after such a big play by Jaquette. But, like you said, it is the preseason. A lot of things we can look back from the last 3 weeks, the last 3 games, and learn from. And then going forward, getting better. At the end of the day, if we're getting better, I feel like, progressively we've gotten better every week as a team, individually, collectively connecting with each other and, just building that team chemistry. And, now it's time to let it show for real.
Two more for When you look at the overall talent level of the wide receiver group, I mean, what do you see as far as, I mean, obviously there are a lot of young guys like yourself and everything, but how do you kind of view the depth of wide receivers here?
I mean, we got a lot of talent in that room. The biggest thing I feel like that you guys probably don't know is we have a lot of great personalities in there. And, it's all about competing, obviously, but, getting each other better collectively and individually and, learning from each other. I mean, I ask guys, things that can help me with my game. Sometimes they ask me things. It's a great group of guys to be around. And, we're real friendly to each other, It's just a great group of guys to be around and a great room to be in.
Okay, thanks, AJ.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we heard from Joe Flacco, Nick Sirianni, and right there, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. You think Coach is ready for Atlanta?
Ready for Atlanta. I think we're all ready for Atlanta, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's about that time.
absolutely. Well, earlier this evening, Fran was able to break down Boston Scott's 49-yard touchdown. We're going to head to that.
All right, well, let's bring this all the way back to the opening drive of the game. The Eagles getting into the end zone on 3 of their first 4 drives in the first half. You love to see it from this Eagles offense. And we're going to take a look at the long 49-yard touchdown from Joe Flacco to Boston Scott. It comes on one of my favorite plays in football. If you've been following me here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com, you know I love to talk about some mesh. That's the play. Let's take a look at exactly why it works. What you see with mesh is you're going to get a lot of routes over the football. And what that does, as you can see, it creates a lot of traffic here in the middle of the field. And when you have lots of traffic, you've got the ability for receivers to gain some separation. On defense, you call this a pick play. On offense, this is a great job to get receivers open and a nice job to get a quarterback a nice, easy layup throw. Keep an eye here on Boston Scott. You can see he comes in late motion. He's going to run a little bit of a wheel route. Now, once the quarterback gets the sense that the defense is in man coverage, you can see that this defender, he also traveled over with Boston Scott. So that was a little bit of a tip for Joe Flacco. This is man-to-man coverage. This defender is one-on-one with Boston Scott. And knowing that he's got all of these routes working over the middle of the field, this defender, he has got to work around this garbage, right? He has got to get over the top and stay clean just in case Boston Scott works vertically. This is going to play right into Scott's hands because he's got the speed to get to the sideline and out-leverage that defender. So we're going to let this roll just for a little bit, and we'll see how that comes to be. Again, you're going to get all those receivers working vertically. That creates that traffic over the middle of the field. Now Boston Scott's got the football. Now he's got to just be a playmaker. And what's great about this is that once he's one-on-one in the open field, he knows he's got that ability to cut this back inside. The defender knows that too. He's got to protect against that. So you're going to see Boston Scott throw that little stutter as if he's going to cut back. And now he's just going to put his foot in the ground and bust it down the right sideline. We can let it roll. Watch the move. He leaves the defender in his wake. Right there, cuts him up, and now he's gone off to the races. 49 yards, catch and run. Love the mesh play. Here's a great example why. Eagles get on the end zone here on the opening drive. They go up 7-0. And Ella, that play is just one of my favorite plays in all of football. It was a key central play to the Eagles for their Super Bowl run back in 2017, that mesh concept. So as soon as I saw it, I was like the Leonardo DiCaprio gif, like pointing, I stood up in my chair. But I was like, that's got to be the Ricoh review this week. Got to touch on the mesh play to Boston Scott for the touchdown. Very exciting for a preseason game especially. But that's a wrap on the preseason. We made it. Training camp, check. Preseason games, check. Off to Atlanta we go. Sunday, September 12th, the kickoff show will air at 12:15, and then it's off to the races. That's it. We're on the home stretch. Excited to get home now. Here we are. For Fran Duffy, I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni. Thank you so much for joining us for the postgame show presented by Ricoh. Have a good night.